Welcome back, guys. I hope you have loved the video so far. So, this is the final part of our clinic management system. In our part 1, 2, and 3, what we have learned is how to store the patient data. In this example, we had utilized Excel as compared to storing the data in database or as compared to storing the data in the cloud. Then we learned how to build appointment reminder. So you can send a daily reminder if the client has an appointment at the clinic. The same can be replicated for other type of business. Third is that in order to increase social media engagement, in case if you want to contact your customers, send them customized emails as per the occasions like Diwali or probably Christmas, we have created a customizable automation where you can change the body of the email as per your occasion, as per your need, and then you can send out the emails to the clients. Then this module is going to talk about how do you send a daily report to the doctors or to the management team so that they can understand how many new patients have you got for the day. This will help them ensure to understand how is their business growing, is their referral program working as expected, do they need to create more awareness. So we will also utilize the referral program details that we have stored in our Excel and utilize the same to create a pivot table. Then using the pivot table we are going to create a pivot chart and then send that chart into an email. Okay, so let's create a new task and let's call it patient underscore report. And this is send daily report for new patients. And let's create, as always, we are going to configure our config file. So let's quickly go to the appointment reminder module. That's where our config file lies. And I'm going to say okay. All right. So how are we going to build this report? Which file are we going to utilize? We are you going to utilize the same file that we had before. So first, let me use the Excel file scope. I am going to go ahead and UiPath, appointment reminder, customer data. That's my file. Okay. Once that is done, first let me go to the file, customer data. Okay, so here is our customer data. Before we actually build the chart using a UiPath Studio X, I would say that let's build the pivot table and the chart in this Excel itself, just to understand that which columns or filters are applicable. So let me select the data over here and I'm going to say insert a pivot chart, pivot table, and I'm going to rename this worksheet as report. So our end goal is to understand how many new patients have visited for today, correct? So that can be our filter, one of the filters where we want the type of the patient to be new or repetitive. Then I'll filter down on the appointment date because the date has to be that of today. Then another thing that's important is type, treatment type that we are taking, correct? So that's what I'm going to pull in. Then what we are also going to do is we need a count, right? Now, how do we establish the count? So again, I'm going to use my type column and I'm going to say count of the type, whether it's repetitive or new. And another thing I would love to add is into my column is, was a patient referred by someone or did they visit clinic without any reference? All right. So this is how I want my chart to look like. Okay. So let's just save these changes for now. Let's go back to UiPath Studio. Uh, so one thing I normally do is that if I'm going to create a report dynamically, I always try to clear the sheet or range of the table because this will make sure that there is no chart or pivot table existing and there is a blank canvas to build my report on. So what that means is this particular sheet will be empty or rather if the sheet is not empty, our bot will make sure that all the contents are cleared from here, and then it will build a pivot table from scratch. All right. So has headers, doesn't has have headers, it will not matter for us right now because we're purely using the sheet to create the report. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to find if there is an option of creating a pivot table. So let me see in my activity if I can type pivot. Yes, I can actually see a pivot table. So let's say create a pivot table. Now, source in our scenario, our sources are appointment card, right? Then let's create a table name so that I will just say patient underscore report, save. Destination. So, as I had told, I have created the report sheet specifically to store the chart that we are going to build. Now, add a pivot field. So, what am I going to do is that in the range, first type. Okay, so that's my field. Now, what is that? What is the type? Is it a row, column, filter, value? Now, how do we remember this? Let's go back to our chart. These are the four sections that they're actually asking you. So, let's quickly see. We have got two filters. One is type and one is appointment date. Now, this is the reason why you had to create the pivot in advance so that you can quickly understand and add the relevant fields here. So and then the another filter we had was appointment date. So let me say that is again a filter. Then we have rows in our treatment type. Correct. So add pivot field. Then I'm going to select rows, treatment type. Yep, that's it. It's a row. Then what do we have is into columns, we have the referral program. Okay. So let's select, are they referred by? Yes. Are they referred by anyone is my column. Last but not least, I need range, type of customer, and it is going to be my value. And value is going to be a count. Correct? So let's say whatever work we have done. And so far we have created this pivot table. Okay. So what now I'm going to do for reference is that I'm going to close my Excel and just whatever I have created so far, I'm going to run it to make sure that my work is correct. So let's run it. Okay. So let's go back and into our appointment reminder customer data. Let's see. Yep, it is present. Now, just to make sure that this was created right now, I'm going to delete this and say save and close this just to make sure that we are referring the correct one. So appointment module, type of file is customer data, which we just edited. I'm going to mark it as save. I'm going to run it quickly. Yep. And let's go back. So now, as you can notice, it's 1654 right now. And let me open my file. Yep. The report has now successfully been created. Okay. Our next step is to understand that whatever labeling that we have created right now, right? It's for all type of patient and appointment date. You can see it's all of them. So how do I make sure that my type over here is just for the new patients? And my appointment date is that for today, which is 0207. Yep. Okay. Right. Now that's my real count. And this is what I want to build up. But is there any way that we can filter the pivot chart in advance? So pivot table in advance. Let's quickly see if there is an option of filtering. Okay, so I can see filter data table, I can see filter a range, I can see filter a table, but I'm not able to see any option of pivot filtering. So it says refresh, it says create, change, export to CSV, but I do not see a filtration option. So now what's an alternative? Alternative is that we will use a technique or rather another sort of automation, which is surface automation. Now, as you notice that whatever we are building here is at the back end. Like, we went to the Excel, we created all the we gave the commands to Studio X and it followed the commands and it created the pivot table for you. But now what we are going to do is surface automation. Now, surface automation, it literally means that how I went to this column, then I filtered down, then I selected new. That's exactly how the bot will also perform. And let us first select all. Let us select all here as well. And let this be as it is. Okay. What I am now going to do is we are going to utilize another scope which is called, we are going to utilize app and web or based automation. So what does that mean is that I am literally going to click the button and ask the bot to do the same. Correct. So first thing that we are going to do is that we are going to use an application and browser. All right. So that's what I'm going to put it. Now, which application do I need to automate? So yes, this is the application I'm going to automate. Now, as you notice, it by default got the Microsoft Office Excel. That's the automation. I did not do anything. I just highlighted the Excel sheet. Right. Application arguments, it's directly taken that it's appointment reminder module and customer data file. All right. It's also asking for an option where it's saying that do you need the file name to be exactly same. In our scenario, files are always going to be same, but I would still avoid checking it unless and until your automation is file name based, or file name plays a biggest role in the automation. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is that I need to add activity here. So what I need to do is, let me select click, right? Now click where? Because here, once the chart is going to get built, I'm going to click on this particular drop down. So let me go here and type a single type and let me indicate now in the Excel. So I'm going to select this particular drop down. All right. Okay. So now, since this is a new technique that we are looking at, let's quickly hover over the option that we have on our side. So you notice there is something called as pause configuration for 5 seconds, then image based region selection. Then you have UI framework, which is normally default, and hoverable element section. So I'll quickly show you where the pause configuration will be used. But for now, let's configure our drop down that we need to notice. So first, where they need to select is the drop down. Now we need to give more information about the anchor, because if you notice there are two drop down in the sheet, right? How will they know that which drop down are we trying to refer? So I'm going to say type. Okay. So now this drop down is for type. Okay. And now it says target and anchors are okay. Let's select on validate. Validate will basically highlight the show you that if the work that you have done or the spy. So what so what will validate try to show you is that it will tell you whether the target that you have chosen is correct or not. So now if you notice, it's telling me that there are duplicate matches found. Correct. So what I am going to do is I'm going to delete this anchor. Instead, I'm going to put all as my anchor. Right. Let's now again validate to make sure that there are no duplicate items found, or whether this anchor is correct or not. If not, we need to help with more details. Okay, so again, it's found in duplicate. So now what am I going to do? I am going to delete the anchor that I have created. So as it is showing me that I have a duplicate, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more anchor. So how do we add one more anchor is, here I've chosen, I'll go to column labels. Okay. Now I'm going to select validate because I've given uh, two anchors to quickly identify where my drop down is. Let's let's see. So now it says that the validation is successful. Okay. So let's confirm. So the first thing it's going to do is that it needs to select on this filter. Now after selecting the filter, I need to type new. Right. So how are we going to do it? So click is going to come and then we need to type. All right. So let's select type into. Okay. So that's my activity. Now what I'm going to do is, what is the value that I'm going to type? We are going to type new. Okay. And I now need to select where I need to type it. So if you notice, I cannot see the search bar. And if I click on this, but that's not where I want to type it, correct? So this is incorrect. Now, this is where exactly you need to utilize your pause configuration for 5 seconds. So what am I going to do is I'll say F2. Okay, I'm quickly going to open this one up. That's it. Now I will select search. Okay, so as you can see that my target is highlighted. Now we need to add anchor. So let's put this box as an anchor. But no, as this is a dynamic box, we cannot make it an anchor. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make again. So if you notice, my anchor has got shifted. And even my target has got shifted. So this is not the correct one. Again, we need to press F2. Quickly select the text box. Once done, yep, highlight your search bar. And I will also quickly highlight my anchor. Now again, I'm going to validate to make sure that the validation is successful. Yep, it is successful. Okay. So now we can see that we have written the type into search and it's new. Before we try to code further, what my recommendation is that we close this file, try to see that what you have coded is working mighty fine, and then you can add the extra elements and continue coding. So let's see, is it able to do the UI or user interface automation that we just have coded? Is it able to type new? Yeah, it has worked fine. Perfect. Now what we need to do is, okay, so I have saved the changes, uncheck create if not exist. Okay, so this is work perfectly fine. Now we need to again filter down on the date that we have created, right? So let's go to our app customer. Okay, let's right now it threw an error because the file is not open. As this is a user interface automation, you need to manually open the file that you have. So let me quickly go to customer data and open it up again. Okay, so and you also need to show it on the report screen. That's the report workbook or worksheet that we are using, and not just the Excel file. Okay, so what am I going to do is here again I need to say all, and I need to give them a target. So on the left, I would have appointment. Let me see if this is valid. It says duplicate elements are found. So let's try to delete this anchor. Let me say I want one more anchor. Let's say grand total. I'm hoping that there would be no duplicates. Targets and anchors are okay so far. All right, so validation is successful. Let's say confirm. So what we are going to now do is that we are going to type in today's date. So let's type into, again indicate in the Excel what we need to type. So as I had taught, I cannot see the search box. So what I'm going to do is press on F2. At count of 3, I'm just going to open this search box, highlight the dates, give the anchor as appointment date, and let's say validate. Validation successful. Let's say confirm. Okay. So what are we going to type into this? We are going to type into this our today's date. So today dot to string. We are going to give the date format that we need. So it's DD, MMM, and just YY. Okay. So one thing to notice is that it's a user interactive automation. So anything and everything I do. So for example, if I'm typing the date here, now after typing the date, it's just not sufficient, is it? No, because here I can notice that I need to select enter. Only when I select enter, the values are accepted. So let's go here and let's say special keys, and I'm going to press enter. Let's here enter. Also, we need to do the same. Type into, let me also add special keys enter here to make sure that the the pivot table is updated. Let's go to our customer data to confirm what date we have. So here we have the option of 2022, and here the dates is date format is DD, MM, and the year. All right. So let me quickly go open text in advance. So DD, I just need MM. Why? Okay. So let's save this. Let me close my Excel, not saving the changes. Let's quickly run to make sure that what we are doing is as per our expectation. So I love to test my code in bunches to make sure that I don't endlessly code for hours and hours, and then I sit back and trace the mistakes which are very minute. Okay, so I believe the date format that we have given is not correct, because I somewhere saw that it picked up on uh, the dates like 2 4 and then 00, and then it did 2022 and it never found a value. So that's why we need to see what date format are we going to utilize. Let's quickly go here. So if you are typing in a password, you can, yeah, so toggle password mode. If it is sensitive data, you can enable the toggle password mode. So it will encrypt the details. Now I cannot read what is star. It does not make sense for me, correct? And uh, just to secure your password. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to go to open advanced editor and see what date I need to format I need to change. And before I do that, what I'm going to quickly do is I'm just going to add a message box, because that's the fastest way to understand uh, whatever value you are giving is working as per expectation or not. So let's say today to string dd m y. Okay, so if I type what happens? Let's see. Okay, I'm going to just disable this entire scope because I'm just validating the date formats here right now as compared to the whole action. I don't want to spend my time going again and again and doing the same activity. So, yep. So this is the date format that we were looking for. It is 02. That's today, 07 July, and 2022. Perfect. So now I can confirm that this is the date format that we are going to utilize. Let me copy this. Okay, delete this activity and enable this entire scope. Quickly go down to our open text editor, fix the date format that we have. Okay, so now here it looks little different. So let me just type enter, and the only difference that I have in my date format is the double M at the header. Let's remove that. Done. Okay, so no errors so far. It says 0, and we have filtered the chart. Okay, so I'm going to say save. I'm going to go back to my data. All right. So manually, after if I select new and I select, let's say, today's date, right? Let me remove this and I'm going to select today's date. I get the details. But then what's the next thing that we are going to do? Can we just send the table to our customer? Wouldn't they get bugged that, oh my God, this is just a table that we are going to send? Instead, why don't we send them a chart? So what we are going to do is that we'll create a chart out of this. So I'm going to select the area, then go to insert and see pivot chart. So I'll select on the clustered column. Okay, does this look right for us? Let me filter down on the only new ones. Appointment date, let's just say 0207. All right. And then I can see that, yes. All right. So this looks like a good chart. Now let's try to replicate the same into our UiPath. How do I do that is I am going to say chart. So insert a chart. Yes, insert a chart. Where do we insert the chart? First is chart category column. That's what we want to do. Clustered column. Yes. Data range. So I'm going to select the report sheet. Insert into. So I have created a chart sheet separately. It's an empty sheet where I want the chart to get pasted instead of pasting it into the report sheet that we have created. And then it says that save the chart value. So I'm going to say yes. So this is my patient report. Okay, so now my chart will get created. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say don't save it. All right, and it's good. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to run the automation to make sure to see that if the chart has actually got created, it's getting created, it's not getting created, and validate the code that we have written. Yep, the chart was created. Now, one thing I noticed in the chart that was created is that it does not have any labels. So if someone is going to tell me what is this, yes, I mean, how much is the count? I'm not going to sit and check 1.21. What is the count, right? So normally in a chart, what would you love to see is that you want to understand the data labels so that you don't spend much time. Correct. So here I'm going to select data label, and that's one. Then if I want to show the data table, it's just too much to read again. Chart title, if we have built up any. So let's do the exact same in our after creating the chart. So what I'm going to do is again, let me type chart. Let's see if there are any options. So I can see there's something called as update chart. Let's see what it does. Oh, okay. So I can update the chart and I can add modification. So here, what I'm going to do is show or hide the data labels. That's what we actually wanted to do, right? So yes, we want to see the data tables. Is there anything else that we want to do? Modify chart title. So show the chart title and what is it that we want to write it. So I'm going to say new patient report. Okay. Is there anything else that we need? Update access title, access bounds. That is up to you. Okay. So again, as always, let's close this out and save it and let's run to make sure that it's coded as per our expectation. So while this is going to run, think of it. How are we going to extract this chart and send it over an email to the doctors, right? Yes, I could see that the chart was built correctly and the label was also added, right? Let's confirm the same. Yep. So here you can see that the label is added. Are they referred by someone? Yes. And if it was no, then another stack would have built up. All right. So now how do we take the same picture and send it over an email? Should we do a user interaction automation, use the snippet tool, take a print screen and send it? If we send a print screen over an image, first of all, the file would be very heavy and sending that over an email would be clumsy. If I use the snipping tool, I don't know how much area I need to snip because the chart can be big, the chart can be small, the chart size is never going to be same. What if there's a lot of data and the chart gets expanded or towards the right? So I will never know the exact data for the snipping tool. So instead what we can do is that there is an option in UiPath, so it says get chart. I'm going to add that. Now get chart is the chart that is there, that's a patient report, and what I want to do is save it as a picture. And what I'm going to save it as is, let me save first, I would say text, and I'm going to say patient report. And it's going to save it as a picture. So where will it get saved? It's going to get saved in our patient report. So I'm going to say patient data.png. You can select other formats as you like. And yep, we have created the chart. We have filtered on the data. We have added the data labels. We've even added a filter to pivot table, right? So what have we done in this tutorial? One is to create your pivot table. Second is to create a pivot chart and then store the pivot chart as a picture. Now what we are going to do is we are going to send this over an email, and this we have seen in our all videos. So I am going to just add send SMTP. I am going to configure the values this time. As the data is sensitive, what I'm going to say is it's a private message, right? Also, let's fix our annotations. So I'm going to rename this as send patient data to the doctor. And at the top, instead of just calling it that using an Excel file, I'm going to say, I'm actually going to let that activity name be there, because if someone wants to know what activity I have used, they can check it. And then next to it, I'm going to say is create patient report. We can also add details here that why you are clearing this sheet or range before starting your whole automation. Rest of the names are pretty, it is like you can read it. It literally says create pivot table. So I would not make any changes to the names. We can add slight description to it saying that, why we are creating this particular table. Creating a pivot table on basis of customer visit type, that is new or repeating, saving the chart as a picture. That's it. And now let's come back to our configuration. So let's go to properties. In my properties, I'm going to give the port number as 465 smtp.gmail.com. Okay. Then in my two, I am going to go to indicate in Excel. And what I'm going to do is that we have added every detail, but we have not added the name of or email of our doctors. So what I'm going to write over here is doctor one and doctor two and add their email address. Um, and we can add the same value for now, and I'm going to save this. Okay, and what I'm going to highlight it on doctor one's address and send it to them. Subject, again, I can say that it's the new patient report. We can even store this in our configuration file. And body is something that, again, I can type it saying that here is the new patient detailed report. Okay, so we are going to attach the files now. So in attachment, what we need to do is give the folder or path and the file name which we want to attach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my uh, report underscore final image that we have just created. I'm going to paste it, and yep, the entire name has come. So I'm going to just say okay and save it. Okay, so we have attached our file. One thing we also need to do is that in our Gmail configuration that we have done, we need to give them that from which ID are we going to send out the emails. So for Reference purposes, I'm adding my own email address. I'm going to use this mailbox, and the password is the 16-digit password that we have stored. And how to generate this password is shown in my previous video. So it's not going to be the same password that you use for your Gmail normal login. Instead, you enable your two-factor security authentication. Then you generate your 16-digit application password, and that's the those are the 16 digits that I have put in my secure password right now. Again, I'm going to make this as private. Okay, so we are all set and we can run our report. But before that, let's quickly check our configuration file and see if the details are as expected. Oh, I can quickly see that my email address is incorrect. So let me type gmail.com. So one thing to notice here is that as soon as you enter a valid email address, it Excel automatically converts it to a hyperlink. So, it started glowing in blue and it has an underline below. So, what you need to do is select both of these cells and say remove hyperlinks at the end. Otherwise, what will happen is when you select on it, it will create a new Outlook item for you. And that's not what we want for our bot. Once this is done, so let's run it again. Okay, so it's got completed in 16 seconds. Let me go to my inbox, see if I've received any email. Yes, I have received my email. And as you can see that the patient data has been attached as a report, and I have also typed here is the new patient detail report. You can configure the body, and we have done that previously using our config file. So you can follow the same technique. And well, this is a great way to send the reports out, and you can modify the chart and utilize the number of the variety of pivot charts that you can create. So for now what we have utilized is just the clustered column, but if you are looking forward some for different type of charts, you can follow this. Also, in our Excel there are variety of ways of coloring the chart, adding titles to the report, coloring the title that you have. Experiment, go till the edge, understand that how much modification you are able to do using Studio X. And in case of any queries, do reach out to me. Well, we are here at the end of our video. In case if you're facing any issue or if you need any dummy data, please reach out to me. I can send this particular Excel file to you. So this brings us to the end of our clinic management use case that we had. We have taken into consideration how to store your data, and that too using Excel as compared to a database or storing it on the cloud. Second, we have built an automation where we can send daily reminders if the patient has the appointment at the clinic or not, right? Then the next thing that we have done is increasing the social media present or the social media engagement. If the customer wants to send social messages to their clients, we have built a mechanism where you can customize the message and then send it to your customers or slash clients. The other thing that we learned today is that how to create a pivot table in Excel, and then using the pivot table, how to create a chart, update the data labels on a chart, and then how to store that same chart as a picture and send it over an email. We also understood that how can we utilize simple mail transfer protocol, and using our Gmail inboxes, we have sent bulk emails. If you have any query or you want to utilize that dummy data, please feel free to reach out to me, or you can even send me my email and reach me out on LinkedIn.
Thank you for watching the video. If you have any queries or recommendations, please post them into the comment section.